Vandal research is headed out of this world. A team of University of Idaho engineering students was chosen through a national NASA competition. The research will be tested on the International Space Station.
How about that?
So cool.
A SpaceX launch will send their research into space December 21st next week, and the students will head to the Kennedy Space Center to watch. Team lead and chemical engineering graduate Hannah Johnson is joining us now live. Hannah, first off, congratulations. What an impressive feat.
Thank you so much. It's really exciting.
Okay, talk to us about your research. What exactly will it test up at the International Space Station?
Of course, we are testing some polymers that are supposed to be bacteria resistant, which they've proven to be bacteria resistant on Earth in previous research. And we're going to introduce some bacteria to these polymers that will be coated onto aluminum coupons up in the ISS in microgravity. So we're looking to see how those polymers behave differently in microgravity versus compared to on Earth.
And you guys are going to be testing it on things on the ISS like handrails, door handles, those sorts of things actually physically there, right?
So our experiment is completely contained. It's actually just a little cube about the size of a Kleenex box.
Okay.
And it is completely sealed, so there won't be any interaction with crew other than them plugging it in because of the risk of introducing bacteria. So we did have to have 2 full levels of containment, but we are using the substrate aluminum 6061, which turns out to be the same material used for those handles that you see around the ISS that they use to pull themselves through.
Got it. Okay, so big picture, what impact do you hope this experiment and its results have?
Overall, ultimately, this research would evolve into potentially being able to coat high contact surfaces, like you mentioned, on the actual handles throughout the ISS and even on high contact surfaces on Earth to help prevent bacteria transmission and help keep people safe.
And so you're headed to the Kennedy Space Station to watch that launch. Hannah, I want to know, what do you think you're going to be feeling when you look up, bye-bye SpaceX, bye-bye research? I mean, that is awesome.
So cool.
And not to mention a great thing to put on your resume.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm definitely just preparing myself to be super emotional the whole time. My team has worked so incredibly hard on this, and every one of us have put in countless hours making this dream happen. So I definitely think that watching that rocket go up is just going to be super emotional. We're all going to be cheering from the beach. It's going to be really incredible.
I think all the Vandals are going to be
cheering.
Oh my gosh,
yes, all of Idaho. As part of NASA's Student Payload Opportunity with Citizen Science Competition, that's a mouthful, that's what this competition was called, you had to loop in K through 12 students in your research. So what kids, what schools did you work with, and what was that experience like for you in that project?
Yes, so it was actually really a fun experience to include K-12 students. We connected with a teacher at Russell Elementary School up in Moscow, and she was the designated STEM teacher for the school, and we ended up preparing 200 experiments for her 3rd grade students and to be placed throughout the school to where they could narrow down which polymers that we were proposing were the best ones. So we originally gave these students experiments with 3 different polymers and a control to see the bacteria hopefully go crazy on the control, but nothing on the polymers. And our students in 3rd grade were able to provide us lots of data to analyze, and we were able to narrow down which of the polymers performed the best.
Well, talk about mentoring the next generation of scientists, especially I hope some young girls in that classroom, Hannah. I mean, that's got to be rewarding too. So is it their bacteria that's going up to space? I just want to clarify.
No, so
okay.
Their experiments are done with for now. Hopefully we can pursue something else with them in the future, but our bacteria that we're sending up is ordered from a lab, super clean. Everything is very sterile when we're sending it up, and it has to be released once it's in there, sealed and contained.
I didn't know if it was a bunch of snot or something from
pretty standard. No offense to the elementary schoolers. No, what like Kim said, really cool exposure for those kids, and the fact that we have something like this in our great state of Idaho and people like you churning out of the U of I. Hannah, you're awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be thinking of you on Monday.